Maybe a little bit, but we still have to walk a line, careful not trying to do too much. We're not panicking. I know, it's only the second week. We're 1-1. We lost to a team that's 2-0, and it was a one-score game till the end.
And everybody in the AFC North is currently sitting at 1-1. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Matchup Show presented by Unibet. I am Missi Matthews. We are previewing Steelers and Bengals Week 3 matchup, 1 o'clock at Heinz Field on Sunday. Let's introduce you to our panelists to get things started. Bob Labriola of Steelers.com, kind enough to join us as always. A newbie to the show, we have two of them. Former Steelers offensive lineman Max Starks, my Steelers Radio Network sideline partner, always keeps me safe down there. And we also have Dave Dameshek from the Extra Points Network. Dave, so glad you could join us, considering you are out in the West Coast.
Oh, yeah. But listen, what a thrill for me, for a guy who used to drive through the Squirrel Hill tunnels back and getting off the Churchill exit there. What a thrill to be able to talk Steelers with you guys today.
All right, we heard from Ben Roethlisberger at the top of our show, so let's start with offense. And Labs, the offensive struggles that we've seen through the first 2 weeks, Ben saying there's going to be growing pains. We do have a sense of urgency now. Where do they start to begin to fix that?
That's a good question, Missy. I really wish that I could sit here and come up with an answer. And that to me is the real issue. It's not just one thing, I don't believe it, and it's not something that's, you can point your finger at and address it, and that's going to be, what fixes it. Craig Wolfley always tells that story about, when he was younger and his grandfather gave him a sledgehammer and said, "Start pounding that rock, boy, and break it up into little rocks." And he was hitting it and hitting it and hitting it, and nothing was happening. And then all of a sudden, it started to break up. The Steelers have to just keep working at it. I do not believe there are any magical cures or instant cures for that matter either.
All right, Max, is there a magic wand you can wave? Is there one thing? Is it just getting the run game going that can help them?
Yeah, run the ball more than 14 times in the game. That would be the first time, and Ben having to throw 40. Once we get that balance shifted back, good, bad, or indifferent, that's where we start to make hay. And to Bob's point, you keep hitting the sledgehammer, eventually that rock's going to crack. And I think for this offensive line, keep sending them forward, and eventually it's going to click in. I mean, it's muscle memory. And this is a brand new group. Heck, you got two rookies that come from college to the pros. They know not what they know, and I think that's the biggest thing. So if you continually do this and create that mindset that we're going to keep calling this, so I need to get better at this, it's going to create that ripple effect. But you can't abandon it so soon because you get a negative play here, a backside run down there, and expect it to be that, oh my gosh, we didn't get on these first 10 tries. Okay, now we have to go to passing only, and we need to run swing passes to make up for it. This isn't Mike Leach's air raid offense where you just forget about the running back. I think we have to take an intentional approach, and if that means simplifying some of the motions that Matt Canada has in that offensive scheme, because there's a lot of pre-snap motion. If you can eliminate that and just put the guys there in a stationary position when it's a run play, just for this sake and purpose, and then run forward, let's see how that works, because I think maybe you're getting guys to cross, or you're expecting guys to cross and they're not, and you're bringing extra guys into the box, and that's what's really hurting the run game. So continually hammer at it, and let's eliminate some of those motions.
Dave, as Coach Tomlin would say, 2 weeks, 2 games, a small sample size, but do they need to involve Derek Watt more, maybe some more from the tight ends? What's your biggest takeaway from this offense and just the slow start?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing them do some 22, get 2 tight ends out there and get Derek Watt in front of Najee Harris and see if they can do it old school style. I do think that, the best laid plans, my assumption is going into the season, and you see how week 1 went, defense dominant, taking care of business. I think that was probably the goal. We knew all offseason long that the offensive line was going to be a work in progress. And that plan has now been blown up by all the injuries on the defensive side. Looking in the rearview mirror, would the Steelers have beaten the Raiders if they had the majority of the defenders that were instead in street clothes by the second half? At least I suspect they would have. as it is now, panicking won't help anybody. It won't help number 7 or anyone else panicking. It does, though, when you look at it realistically. At 1-1 with, 3 more games to go, they go Cincinnati and Coach T is big on the divisional games, and they really need to take care of business in Heinz Field against the Bengals, because after that, then they go to Green Bay. Then Denver comes to Pittsburgh, then Seattle does before the bye. I think the goal was to probably ride the defense until you could get to that bye, and hopefully the O-line solidifies over the first quarter or third of the season. But yeah, I'll follow Max's advice and say let's try to play complementary offense to what should be still one of the better defenses in the league.
All right, as always, guys, we have fans submitting questions, so we're going to get to one of those now. This one is for you, Labs. We know Ben Roethlisberger injured his pec in the game on Sunday. Said reaching for things, getting up off the ground hurts right now. So Sergio wants to know, who do you think will be the quarterback on Sunday?
I think Ben has said he's going to do everything he can, to get onto the field, and I think that, I take him at his word. One of the things to me that is very critical early for the Steelers offense is to convert some third down so they can stay on the field a little bit and maybe run some plays and gain some rhythm. If early in the game you're going 3 and out and then you go sit on the sideline for a while, and you come out, run 3 more plays and then go sit on the sideline for a while, that doesn't allow for any cohesion or anything to develop. And so converting third downs early, I think, are going to be important, and I think it's going to be Ben out there at least for the start of the game or until he shows that he is physically incapable of continuing.
All right, we have an O-line question, Max, so we saved this one from you. It is from Liz, and she wants to know, is there anything that Matt Canada can do, to help the play calling that will help the O-line gel?
Well, Liz, once again, thank you for the question. But I think the biggest thing is that they just have to play together. That's the biggest thing. Continually calling plays. Every play that they get together is building that base for them to where they get to know each other better. So I don't think it's a matter of play calling. He has to call the right plays to get them to gel. It's just the quantity. Right now, you're trying to gain what we call gain the Rolodex, right? Be able to have that and continually build on that and add plays, add situations into it that they can then go watch together and really disseminate how they are and understand how each other thinks on these exact plays. So for right now, it's just simply just repetition to gain that muscle memory. And the more you communicate on the field, like Lab said, instead of sitting on the sidelines every 3 plays and talking about everything else but what you're doing, gives you a better shot at becoming a better offensive line, because the only thing that helps it is time.
All right, Dave, we know Deontay Johnson is dealing with a knee injury. His status for Sunday still not revealed to everybody. That will happen on Friday, but he has been a favorite target of Ben Roethlisberger. Who do you think kind of takes over if he's not able to go against the Bengals?
Well, even Derek Carr did it last Sunday a couple of times, which was to help the offensive line. He took off with the ball himself in some spots. 7 is probably not built at this point to keep defenses honest by scrambling and trying to get to the sticks with his legs at this point. How Tom Brady, who also is not much of a runner himself, has used James White or otherwise to dump the ball off to his running backs, has done it in Super Bowls past and on down. I think that's the answer here in simple terms, is Najee Harris has to play a big factor. Some nice early returns there against the Raiders. I think they need to keep using 22 a little bit more there in the passing game. And maybe Freiermuth continues to do what he showed up a little bit more in week 2. And so I suspect that those 2 rookies will play a bigger factor in the passing game this time.
All right, guys, we need to talk much more about the Steelers defense, those injuries, Joe Burrow coming to town. But now it is time for our Week 3 opening lines across the league, presented by Unibet Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the Pittsburgh Steelers. If you're in Pennsylvania and are ready to place your wagers on any of this weekend's matchups, download the Unibet PA app or visit pa.unibet.com. Coming up here on the Matchup Show presented by Unibet, the Bengals have lost 5 straight at Heinz Field. Will it be 6? What does the Steelers defense need to do against Joe Burrow? We'll discuss when we return.
I don't think it really changed much because we got players that can step up and play. So no matter what, whoever's suited up, whoever's going, we still gonna have a rotation. And we still gonna get the job done.
Welcome back to the Matchup Show presented by Unibet. Everybody liked the signing of Melvin Ingram prior to training camp, and I think now with TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith dealing with injuries, people like it a little bit more. Let's talk if the Steelers defense should blitz or not blitz against Joe Burrow and just what they need to do to help the Steelers offense. Labs, what's your biggest thing you want to see the Steelers defense accomplish on Sunday?
Well, I think one of the things that's going to be important, especially at this stage, because we really don't know who is going to be able to play and who is not. So what I would like to see them, the unit do is make the Bengals one-dimensional. And by that, I mean they really need to get Joe Mixon under control and early and keep him under control, because then I think they can work on Joe Burrow, trying to confuse him, pressure him, maybe force him into some bad decisions, and get the takeaways going here a little bit. But if the Bengals are able to run Joe Mixon successfully from the beginning of the game throughout, then advantage goes to the Bengals offense and takes a lot of pressure off their second-year quarterback.
All right, we are looking now, thanks to NFL Media Research, Max, Joe Burrow's statistics, under pressure and no pressure, the biggest difference, his passer rating. What have you seen from him heading into year two, knowing he missed a number of games last year, and just what you think the Steelers defense should key in on?
Well, I think the biggest thing is one-on-one battles up front with the offensive line and defensive line. I would love to see bigger personnel in there, whether you're going to put 3 down linemen with an outside backer to keep that rotation fresh, because obviously we don't know, if you'll have a Taco Charlton up to speed enough to even contribute to this team, or if you're going to activate him or not. So to see some version of Bugs, Davis, Hayward, Wormley, and those guys kind of in there and creating pressure, bigger bodies, because let's face it, this offensive line is still bad for the Bengals. They're not a good offense. There's a reason why Joe Burrow missed the last quarter of the season, was because he was on IR, because those guys were giving what we like to call OLine blocks, where it was like the bullfighter, turning guys loose. So if you can get Joe Mixon under control, I think with bigger bodies and more of that 4 down type of look, I think then that puts that pressure on Joe Burrow. And let's face it, that group cannot hold up. And if we start instituting, when we do get into base personnel, the old fire zone, I know everybody should know that. Labs, you should be well acquainted with that from the Dick LeBeau days, to create that zone pressure and really confuse Joe. Because Joe, yes, he has a higher completion percentage, but it's for shorter passes, because he's having to throw the check down. He's having to get rid of the ball because he doesn't want to get hit. And not to say he's seeing ghosts yet, but if you continue down that path, that's what you need. And without pressure, he's surgical. So you have to apply pressure to him. You can't expect 4 to hit home every time. You have to add on that 5th and 6th guy from time to time.
All right, Dave, I have a fan. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say yes, I completely get it where Steelers fans' head are right now. Everybody's very concerned, wringing their hands about the Steelers' offensive line. Think globally, react locally. But as Max says, the Bengals have a pretty lousy offensive line so far this season. You'd like to think that the Steelers can win that one. And the other thing is, Joe Burrow, number 1 pick, a lot of swooning over him, Heisman Trophy, started his rookie season nicely. But it was the game in Heinz Field a year ago where if you watched him closely, he was having a hard trouble hitting some of those out routes. And I mean, and this is before the knee injury. I'm not 100% sure that 5 years, 10 years, maybe even by the end of this season, that we aren't starting to talk about, did the Bengals definitely take the right quarterback with Justin Herbert there? Down in Miami, people are already starting that conversation with Tua. So I do think that guys like Cam Sutton, people like that loom large in this one. I think there is legitimately a chance with a little bit of pressure, Joe Burrow might get flustered. And I think there's an opportunity for the defense to make a play. And that's absolutely what this offense needs right now, is for the defense to chip in a little bit, just like it did in week 1 with the special teams play. The defense might need to step up and maybe contribute a couple of points along the way.
Yeah, and the Steelers defense, who we know likes to get those takeaways. We know they like to be blitzburging at the sacks too, but they have not picked up an interception yet this season through the first 2 games. But Dave, I do have a fan question for you from Heather, and Coach Tomlin talked in his press conference about it being a multi-pronged offense for the Bengals. She wants to know, what scares you more with their offense, Joe Mixon, or their wide receivers?
Bob is obviously right, but the Steelers fans, we've been spoiled watching them over the decades. Generally speaking, you don't beat up Pittsburgh on the ground. That's not been as true, I guess, over the last half decade. But yes, I think you have to stop Mixon. But in a bigger picture, the one thing that the last 5 games of last season and the first couple here have obscured the concern about offensive line and where Roethlisberger is and everything else is the defense has allowed big plays in big spots in second halves. The Henry Ruggs play last week is a big one. So I do fear the likes of Chase or otherwise getting behind that defense in a big spot again. They really do have to get back to limiting those plays. I think entire Steelers seasons have kind of been dictated by whether or not the defense is allowing the big plays or not. And I think that they need to get back to limiting those or eliminating those to win games. And we swoon a lot about the defense, but as I say, there have been some major spots where they've come up a little bit short, and that's got to change.
And Joe Hayden, someone we'll keep an eye on this week as well. He did not play against the Raiders on Sunday. All right, guys, we're going to take one more quick break here on the Matchup Show presented by Unibet. When we return, we'll have you predict who's going to get the game ball on Sunday. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Matchup Show presented by Unibet. It is time to see who our panelists think will get the game ball on Sunday against the Bengals. Kickoff set for 1 o'clock back-to-back home games. Everybody loves that. No person more than Bob Labriola, especially the 1 o'clock games. Labs, who do you think is going to have a big game on Sunday for the Steelers?
Well, I think I'm going to go with Najee Harris. I mean, to me, in my mind, as you were bringing this around to me, I was vacillating between Najee Harris and TJ Watt. I do believe one of the things I think that I would qualify as a positive so far this season is that Harris has shown improvement individually a little bit in each of the first 2 games. I do think that going into this game, there will be a little bit more of an emphasis on getting him involved early, both as a runner and maybe then also as a receiver, depending upon how that aspect of the game unfolds. If the Steelers can protect Ben enough for him to work the ball down the field, that's one thing. If they can't, then maybe quick passes to Najee Harris might be the answer to some of that. So I'm going to go with Harris, and I'll leave TJ Watt to one of the other guys.
All right, Max, you get to go next. Who would you predict will get the game ball following Sunday's game?
Well, let's see. I'm a former offensive lineman. I got to give it to the O-line. If the O-line does their job and we come out with a victory, that means that they did their job. That means Najee Harris had holes to run in, Ben had time to throw the ball, and it resulted in a victory. So if we get into that type of situation, this offensive line, for as much as they've taken in the first couple of weeks of trying to get to know each other, if they can take that step this week against a divisional rival, then I think, hey, let's pour a little love on them, because if Najee can get running and Ben has time, that's going to be a recipe for success to move throughout the season and keep us balanced as an offense. So I got to give it to the big guys if they're eligible, and I will save TJ Watt for Dave if he so chooses.
Well, everyone's picking for Dave here, but I think we could all agree, Max. We hope that you're right, that the entire O-line gets it. I think that would be a fantastic way to put a bow on Sunday. Dave, go ahead. Are you going with TJ Watt, or you got someone else up your sleeve?
I mean, more media disrespect for offensive linemen. They're not just a mass of humanity. They have names, Max. Thank you.
We have feelings. We have feelings.
The offensive line. Yeah, no, there are 5 of them. But yeah, let me answer for Steelers fans out there, or what their wish is. Derek Watt. That's what we need to see. I don't know that Derek Watt, how many significant snaps he's going to get. I'll stick with what I said a few minutes ago. Cam Sutton or Minkah Fitzpatrick, someone on the defense, one of their chief playmakers has to step up and make a big play that can swing what I expect to be a low-scoring, really tight game. I think it looms large what the Steelers are able to do in the secondary against Burrow and company.
All right, we like your game ball predictions. Now it's time to tell you about Pick and Win presented by Unibet. Each week, participants can answer a variety of trivia and predictive questions to earn points. The person with the most at the end of the week wins a prize. The grand prize at the end of the season to the top points getter is a trip to the Pro Bowl in Las Vegas. It's free and easy to play. Just download the Steelers official mobile app, create a fan profile, and find the Pick and Win banner under the Fan Zone Central. All right, guys, this has been a lot of fun on the matchup show today. Thanks to Labs, Max, and Dave for joining me. Let's go get a Steelers victory on Sunday and find out who gets the game ball.
What's up, Steeler Nation? It's Terrell Edmonds. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Steelers official YouTube channel. Make sure you subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on everything going on in the Steel City. Thanks for being the best fans of football, and here we go.